and thank you for joining Dr. Tea Time. Today I'm going to give you the last part of 1 Samuel chapter 13. It's a small section, but it's a powerful situation going on here. You will have to go listen to the other two parts prior to this one so you can get the full tea. But it starts for this particular situation. As Samuel left Gilgal, he went on his way, but the rest of the troops went with Saul to meet the army. And I'm at verse 15 right now. And it goes on continuing saying, they went up from Gilgal to Gibeah in the land of Benjamin. When Saul counted the men who were still with him, he found only 600 were left. Saul and Johnathan and troops with them were staying at Gibeah in the land of Benjamin. The Philistines set up their camp at Michmash. 3 raiding parties soon left the camp of the Philistines. One went north towards Ophrah in the land of Shur. Another went west to Beth-horon, and the third moved toward the border above the valley of Zeboim near the wilderness. There were no blacksmiths in the land of Israel in those days. The Philistines wouldn't allow them for fear they would make swords and spears for the Hebrews. So, whenever the Israelites needed to sharpen their plowshares, picks, axe, or sickles, they had to take them to a Philistine blacksmith. The charges were as follows: a quarter of an ounce of silver for sharpening a plowshare or a pick, and an eighth of an ounce for sharpening an axe or making the point of an ox goad. So on the day of the battle, none of the people of Israel had a sword or spear except for Saul and Johnathan. The pass at Michmash had meanwhile been secured by a contingent of the Philistine army. Now, this is very interesting. Can you believe this? There were no blacksmiths in the land of Israel in those days because it says the Philistines wouldn't allow them for fear they would make swords and spears for the Hebrews. Okay? Isn't that something? So, in one context, we hear the Hebrews, and it says, so whenever the Israelites needed to sharpen their plowshares, picks, axes, or sickles, they had to take them to a Philistine blacksmith. So, you can see right now, when we look at the days, in today's, bring it up to today. Look at what's going on in the Middle East, because I'm not going to do a whole um, commentary on what's going on in the Middle East. But if you look at what happened back then and see what's going on now, there is an argument in reference to um, the controversy of who's in charge and the rebellious uprising that happened. And some people feel there were people being, how can I say it, held in bondage in the tight reins. Well, this was a situation we see right here in the Word of God where the Philistines were in charge and the Israelites were not allowed to um, have blacksmiths in their land. But it goes on to say, before the fear of the Hebrews. So you see how the word is interchanged here? For fear of the Hebrews um, having the ability to make things to rebel against the Philistine army. So this is something that you really want to keep in mind because this is powerful how they had to, go again to the Philistines, and this is a time of peace, okay? Because the Philistines were in control of the Israelites at one time, so it was considered peacetime as long as no one was challenging or uprising against them. But they still had access to the blacksmiths there. But in the time of war, they didn't have that. So it makes sense for people to have become fearful when they did not have the weapons that they needed to have. So how in the world did they win the battle? Wouldn't you ask yourself? Isn't that interesting? They still won the battle. If you read before, you'll see how they actually defeated the Philistines in certain parts of the regions without having the adequate sources that they needed for war. Now, they won the battle because Yahweh was with them and helped them win the battle against the Philistines. He did that. Okay? He did that. Now, I want to bring to your attention the young man named Desmond Doss. He lived in Lynchburg, in Fort Hill area. He lived in the Fort Hill area of Lynchburg, was some, well born and raised. Then he went into the military, and he decided that he was not going to carry a weapon to war. He was persecuted for this, and the movie is out there about his story. So, and documentary. So feel free to fact check this if you really want to see that I'm telling you the truth. This was powerful because this reminded me of Desmond Doss. He went into war. The difference between this situation and the Israelites and Desmond Doss, the Israelites were fearful, okay? But Desmond Doss had no fear. Desmond Doss was a person who did believe in God. He saw some domestic violence in his family between, his dad, per se, according to the movie, and he had vowed that he would never ever hold a gun in his hand. And he went to war and he made it home alive. And he was so amazing. Of course, it is a movie that depicts his life, but unless you read factual documents about him, you may not want to take the movie for 100% full face value, only because sometimes movies do have fillers just to make it more interesting than just a documentary, okay? So, I do say that with caution that the movie is giving a lot of details, but I can't give you how, I can't verify how accurate all the details are in reference to Desmond Doss. But that's what he became known for. And I think that his faith in the Lord was so amazing that you see how, again, he did make it back home alive. He was injured at some point, but he was fine. He lived a long time. So that is the part I wanted to bring out. And when you read the Word of God, it is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is pieces of information throughout that had been taken from some of it from larger text, and it was compiled to what we are known to what we know is the Bible. So it has 66 pieces of information in the form of books, scrolls, letters, and again, it comes from a larger volume of information, but this is what we have combined. So it's so important for you to read the other pieces of information that is available prayerfully. If you are believing Jesus, prayerfully do this. Don't lean to your own understanding, and just go out there and just accept any piece of information that you come across and think that is true, because it's always something out there to mimic what is true, but there are some fine lines that you can have understanding that it's not the truth, okay? So definitely have discernment. Prayerfully look for other sources to complement what you're already reading in the Word of God. But again, I heard someone that was just very vocal in the social media world, and it was so funny, and I couldn't help but be in agreement with her when she said, some of you all don't even take the time to read the 66 books of the Bible. Why are you going to try going after to read the lost books? And her name is Tiffany Montgomery. And she is one who is very bold and vocal when it comes down to declaring truth, and speaks what she um, knows and stands on with a firm conviction. And when I heard that statement from her about you, well, people in general, um, why would you want to um, go after lost books when you're not even reading the six books that you have available to you? Now, don't quote me on that specific statement that came from her. I am paraphrasing what I recall her statement was about that, and I am in 100% agreement with that statement that she made, because you can get caught up and you can be misled if you're going to go after other pieces of information and you're not led to do that. However, I do feel that some of the other texts out there that were not included in the Bible does have some validity to it, but you definitely have to be prayerful and led, because some of it, not all of it, and even with the ones that are considered lost books, there may be some information in there that's definitely valid. But the problem with that, from what my understanding is some of it is um, has been included along with some things that are not relative or truthful in those books, and that may be the reason why it was not canonized. But again, if you are a follower of Jesus, he is the main one that you should be speaking to in reference to how to go about that, and not rely on someone just telling you what to do or what to read or what not to read, because that way you can't blame the person who gave you the information if it doesn't turn out to be what you confirm. Jesus is first, okay, and foremost, but he does at the same time bring people across your path who are very prophetic, and they do have a right now word with clarity from the Lord himself to give instruction. But prophecy is definitely to be confirmation. When you have a relationship with Jesus, when a person prophesies to you, a lot of times it is something that you're already familiar with, or it is something that shall come to pass, and you have a right to judge everything that a person says out their mouth. Not criticize. There's a difference. Don't criticize everything someone says, but judge what they say according to the word of God and according to what aligns, okay, from the understanding that the Lord gives you about him, his word, because remember, it's two-part. You have the Lord's written word, and you have the Lord speaking to you himself. Whether you're a believer in Jesus or not, the Lord still speaks. He made it clear he reigns on the just as well as the unjust. So I hope these words have found you well. And until the next time you sit with me, stay focused and enjoy your tea. See you later.